It's a little more complicated than that, in fact.
Some
So,
real behind the scenes movie stuff here.
yeah.
Hey guys, in today's video we got a really interesting guest. If you've seen the original Karate Kid movie, there's one guy that sticks out who has amazing karate skills. You'll recognize the guy right away, Grandmaster Darryl Vidal. We're going to give you some real behind the scenes stuff with the Karate Kid. This is a man who invented the crane kick after all. Going to talk about that. Going to talk about how he got cast in the Karate Kid. Is he going to be in Cobra Kai? Because they're bringing a lot of the old characters back. So we discussed that and more. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, please help support the channel by hitting the like button, subscribing, and sharing the video. We all know The Karate Kid is such an amazing movie, great drama, probably the best coming of age story ever. It's amazing. But the one complaint, and I've had this with my friends because we all grew up watching Bloodsport. So the only complaint we have with The Karate Kid, in general, the martial arts aren't that good, except...
Oh, I was going to say that the karate sucks.
Except for you, because you were always the guy that stood out when I would watch the tournament. I'm like, okay, this guy is actually really good. This guy knows something. And then researching you, obviously you were one of the only black belts actually, you know, in the film. So it's like, okay, this guy knows his stuff. So
in fact, John Avildsen, you know, scouted me, or, you know, scouted the karate tournaments to bring some realistic karate to his movie. So that was kind of his whole point in bringing me in.
Oh, interesting. Because I was going to ask how you got cast. So basically, you were doing it in real life. You were competing in these karate tournaments in the Valley?
Yeah, exactly. I was mostly in LA. Yeah. In fact, I believe I found this out later talking to somebody that it was actually a tournament in Southgate, LA, that we were all at, because the guy who was sitting next to me. Okay, so the story goes like this. I was doing a lot of competition. I was black belt, and I won the Kata division. And so after that, we were all lining up for sparring division, and I'm sitting there getting my gear on, and this guy comes up and says, "How would you like to be in a movie?" And then he brought John over, and yeah, like they say, the rest is history.
So basically, like, what was the audition process like? Did you even have to do anything, or was he watched you in the tournament? He's like, okay, this dude's good enough.
Yeah, there was no audition. Yeah, they basically said, call this number and we'll see you at rehearsal.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was shooting the movie, by the way? Like, how long did it take to do all your fights in the tournament at the end of the film?
So well, I mean, specifically about shooting, it was, you know, within days. So the whole process started that summer of '83. They had me come and work out with all the Cobra Kai dudes for like 6 weeks. We trained every day for about 6 weeks. And that's where, you know, we choreographed fight scenes. We just, you know, these guys, they weren't in karate, so they're teaching them how to kick and punch and all that kind of stuff. And then came back in October, filmed the beach scenes over about a week period. And then in December, it actually, filming ended on New Year's Eve of December of 1983. And they held, you know, these tournaments, and then all the fight scenes were filmed in that last week of December.
Oh, when you say they held these tournaments, you mean like there were real tournaments going on? And
in order to promote the movie and to bring realism, they actually held 2 or 3 Karate Kid, they call them Karate Kid tournaments. And they had, you know, regular local guys promote the tournaments. They had actual schools come in and compete. But then the last one was all, you know, staged. It was at Cal State Northridge.
Oh, that's where I went. That's funny.
Small yeah, so it was all there, except the last one. They actually, I mean, you could see real competitions going with some real competitors, but that last day was all just, you know, all the fight scenes and stuff.
Hey, let me ask you this. You know, when you do that jump spin and side kick and you hit that fat dude in the tournament?
Yeah.
How hard did you hit that guy? Because that looked like it connected pretty good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I nailed him because we were just practicing. I'm going to do this. And then we probably did it 4 or 5 times. And each time I was just kind of, I mean, I wasn't blasting, I wasn't maliciously trying to hit him, but I was making pretty decent contact. And he had a footprint bruise on his chest the next day where I had landed
That's
on
funny.
a few
That's funny.
times. So yeah, I guess I didn't pull it as much as I could have.
It was great on film, man. We're glad you didn't pull it. That guy probably not so much, but
Yeah,
so
well,
that's what you remember. These cool fight scene. That guy's just remembered for the footprint on him.
exactly. His response was pretty realistic.
That's funny. So how much fun did you have making the film? Because you never did a film before, and then you do
Right. Oh
real-time
yeah.
and-
Are you kidding? Because all my growing up years from 12, I was 20 at the time. I've been training. I knew I was had good moves. I knew I wanted to be the next Bruce Lee.
Oh, so you wanted to be an actor then?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be the next Bruce Lee. I didn't really think about being an actor, so I never did anything acting wise.
Mhm.
But I always went to the tournaments because I thought maybe if I go to enough tournaments, they'll see me.
Oh.
But I didn't know. Like today, if someone wants their kid, they take them to Hollywood, they get them an agent, and they do auditions and all these things. But my parents weren't like involved in any of that. In fact, most of the time, my instructor would take me to the tournaments because I would just go with him. So my parents weren't really involved. So the whole thing about getting into acting was never really part of the formula for me.
But after the Karate Kid, after having a movie credit, and you even have a line in the movie.
You all right, Vidal?
I'm okay.
But you do, So
Well, I do, but I don't.
oh, is it somebody else that says that?
Yeah, it's dubbed.
Oh, okay. It sounds like what your character would sound like, basically.
Well,
So,
yeah,
you fooled me all these years.
When I first saw it, I go, hey, look, I have a line. But apparently, I found this out later. They would have had to pay me a higher wage if I spoke.
Sure.
So they just had somebody else dub it in.
Oh, see, I was kind of curious how that worked. Like, because your character said the line, I thought you maybe still got paid that higher wage, but I guess it doesn't work like that.
It's a little more complicated than that, in fact. So
Some real behind the scenes movie stuff here.
yeah.
But let me ask you this. So you shot the Karate Kid. Obviously, it was a memorable performance.
Absolutely.
Talk about it.
I mean, I was 20 years old. I know nothing about Hollywood. And so I was, amazed and totally.
But did you try to pursue acting after that movie? Because you got a great credit under your belt.
Yeah, I actually tried to, but again, I didn't really have the wherewithal. So I didn't know, I tried to, call an agent. That didn't work. But the casting director of the Karate Kid, her name is Caro Jones, and she remembered me, and then she actually recommended me for another movie, which I did audition for. It ended up being a movie called North Shore. So you can still find it out there, but they ended up having to film it in Hawaii. And so they just got some local guy. So
that would have been cool if they flew you out, man.
Oh, yeah,
Hawaiian vacation.
Yeah.
It is the peak, the dream, the ultimate challenge.
All you've talked about since we were 14 is going to the North Shore.
Then I would be a real actor, but
Yeah, that would be cool, man. So I did notice. So basically, 35 years after the Karate Kid, you did show up on IMDb in another film. How did that come about? It's a long gap between acting jobs.
You did a little background. Yeah. So the first thing that shows up, I believe, is King of the Underdogs, a film by Derek Wayne Johnson. And he contacted me because he made a documentary about John Alvinson.
Okay.
That's what that was. So he contacted me. I supported him. I kind of donated to his effort, and then so I got a producing credit for that.
Well, that's cool.
And then then another couple things came through. But for instance, there's a movie that hasn't come out yet, which I'm on there for. So
I gotta ask this:
Please.
Obviously, Cobra Kai is blowing up. It's so popular. We got
Amazing.
Thomas Ian Griffith back. I think in the new season coming up, they're going to get Cynthia Rothrock. So have anybody like approached you or said, hey, you want to come back to the Karate Kid world?
Well, it's a great question. The season 1, episode 1, they actually use a clip from Karate Kid Part 1. And it's Johnny's flashback, and it's him fighting me, where he takes me down. So in order to use that, they had to get me to sign a waiver. So they knew about me from season 1. And when they sent me the waivers and stuff, I actually sent an email back and said, hey, you know, I still train. You know, I can still do stuff, and I look like Miyagi even. So
you're the new Mr. Miyagi. There you go.
But yeah, so that was it though. They didn't ask me to do anything else, although that they mentioned my name a couple other episodes, right?
Oh, so they're kind of like planting seeds and making reference.
Yeah,
that'd be cool if you showed up in season 5, man.
Well, it was Cobra Kai. I think it was season 3. They actually filled in a full backstory for Vidal because while is it Johnny or Kreese is doing research on the internet, they pull up some magazine articles, and people have screenshotted it. And if you read the magazine articles, it says Vidal won in 1981 and beat Johnny. And then, you know, I don't know what the other 2 years are, but basically Johnny and I are 1-1 now.
They gotta put you in the series. I mean, they keep referencing you. It's almost like they're teasing you, man.
Yeah,
because again,
they are teasing me.
You're a memorable character.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
that would be cool. I mean, obviously, if they brought you back, you got to fight Johnny, right? If you're 1-1, let's settle it, man.
Yeah, and I'd be ready.
Yeah, that's cool.
I still train.
Yeah, you're ready for it. Hopefully that happens, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be good. You know, it's Billy's a good guy. In fact, I on my Instagram, I actually have a letter up there that he wrote for me on my, and it was actually for in 2012 when I was awarded presented my 10th degree. My wife threw a big event, my karate instructor, you know, to present this, and my wife had contacted Billy Zabka, and he couldn't come, but he wrote a nice letter, and I have that letter up on my Instagram, and it says things like, you know, I learned a lot from you and I respected you, and you know, it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool for sure. So before, you know, Cobra Kai came out and got the Karate Kid so popular again, even to like a younger audience, not just like guys like me who grew up watching, but like a whole younger audience and crowd. Did they have like Karate Kid conventions that you went to with like some of the old cast or not?
No, it's, you know what, I've been going to a few of these Comic-Cons lately. And so only, you know, kind of in the last couple of years, I've started doing that. So in the past 35 years or so, I just basically was that guy. And then, you know, kind of never anything became of it. But then after the 30-year reunion, they had a reunion event, and I kind of hooked up with, you know, a lot of the guys. And then things have been happening ever since, you know, so I get invited to some of these Comic-Cons or, you know, autograph shows, you know, meet the fans and all those types of things. So,
that's cool. Yeah, very cool. Hey, let me ask you this. Speaking about, you mentioned you kind of look a little like Miyagi now. You doubled him, right?
That's correct. Yeah, the scene where he's doing the crane kick on the post is me. And a lot of people don't know that because it's not documented anywhere. It didn't show up on the cast listing or anything. So for 20 years, I couldn't prove that was me. And people would say that was Fumio Tamura. Or
that's what I was going to ask, because he's the one that doubled him and jumped off the fence.
All the fight scenes, all of Pat's fight scenes was Fumio. But for this, they asked me to do it. In fact, they've, you know, John Avildsen even credited with me with inventing the crane kick, because, you know, they asked me to do the kick, and then I kind of said, okay, let's do this, and so that's where the crane kick came from.
Which is so iconic. It's one of those things that people will kind of make fun of in a way. Like if you're going to pretend to fight someone, get in your fight stance, people getting that crane kick, you know. Have you ever used that in real competition, by the way?
I've used double jump kick, but never with the arms to the side. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Here's a couple notes. One is when I did that karate tournament, or I used to compete a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the karate kata that I would use was a made up one. And I had almost every kick that I used in the Karate Kid was in this kata.
Oh.
So if they were to sit there and watch it, they would say, wow, this guy can jump all over the place and do all these kicks. So that's kind of how I implanted all those moves into the director.
Oh yeah. So obviously, if they use Fumio for like the other, fight scenes and stuff to double Mr. Miyagi, why did they end up not wanting to use him on the beach? Was he not available, or did anybody ever tell you?
You know what? It wasn't. I never asked that question because while we were doing all our rehearsals, they basically said, "Okay, you're going to do this for us too." It's called the crane kick, and then Fumio wasn't there when we talked about it. Ralph has talked about it, the fact that, that they, that I was selected to do it, but I don't know what the reason was. I was much smaller, at the time. Fumio's more of the size and weight of Miyagi, so maybe it was just because he wasn't as lithe as me or something. I don't know.
Interesting. How hard was that balance, by the way? Standing on the little wooden thing. And
you know what? It's funny. As a younger person, I had incredible balance, so I could stand there and do that over and over. But there's a couple of things. One is I started by practicing on a paper plate, right, which is about that big, and I put it on the floor and do these double jump kicks. And when they originally asked me to do this, they said, okay, here's what you're going to do. The kid's going to have his knee hurt. So he stands on one leg, you jump, kick with that foot, and then land on that foot. And then I said, I don't think you can do it that way, because I actually tried it. It was like you would almost have to take a running jump in order to do that and then land. So I said, it's going to have to be like this, where you lift up the knee, pump, and then kick with the other leg, land on the hurt leg or the bent leg. And then I switch back real quick. So if you watch, that's what happens. I'm in the cat stance, I do the kick, and then when I land, and I switch. But to answer your question, it wasn't too difficult, except that when we got to the beach, they had put these logs there the day before, right? Because you don't just have logs at the beach like a broken pier or whatever. But the top of this one that they told me to go to was like broken off. It was like you broke it like that. So only half of it was flat.
Oh, wow.
And the other part of it was like a hole, which I could actually, hurt my ankle if my foot went. So I was actually doing it on like half of the stump. And then I probably had to do it like 10 times, switch lens, another shot 10 times or so. That's kind of how we did that.
Yeah, I got a little dangerous. I guess you should have practiced on half a plate, right? Cut the plate.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, not only that, here's a funny story about that is when they told me what we were going to do, I practiced on a plate. Well, one day they brought in a piece of telephone poles, and it was about 5 or probably 4 feet high. And they said, okay, we want you to try this. And I'm like, that thing is it's not stable. There's nothing holding it up. It'll fall over and I'll fall down. So Pat Johnson, the ref guy, he actually got down on his knees and held it while I did it a few times on top of the stump. And they said, okay, you can do it. That's
okay.
Fine. Yeah.
That's nice of him. That's funny.
Yeah. I could have fallen on him,
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
Hey, did you see that? I'm sure you've seen that UFC fight where Lyoto Machida knocks out.
Of course.
Yeah, because they give credit to the Karate Kid.
Well, not only that, I'm a huge UFC fan at the time. Huge fan of Lyoto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Even before this, but when it happened, I didn't really think of it as a crane kick. His arms did go out, but he did a double jump kick. Mm-hmm. But Joe Rogan says
exactly.
He did the crane kick.
That's the crane technique. No can defend. Look at that.
Does it work?
If do right, no can defense.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. And then all of a sudden, you know, it kind of like shifted the MMA landscape where it's like, you know, these traditional martial arts techniques actually kind of work. The stuff we've seen
Right.
in movies, like people
Yeah.
can use this to knock people out.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, to me, the way I interpret that was, especially the way Lyoto came up was, you know, here's a karate guy, and it kind of pointed to an evolution in MMA because, you know, for a while there, everything was jujitsu, and then they started to get these jujitsu killers, right, who could do the stand up and then knock them out, and then Lyoto came and did that, which just proved, you know, that karate fighting can be effective.
Yeah, that was
And
great.
I think his brother Chinzo since then has done very well in
Yeah, in
MMA.
Bellator, he's done really well. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So, okay, so you were like 20 years old when you
yeah,
did that. When did you
yeah.
actually start training in martial arts?
So I started training about 12, doing Filipino stick fighting with some like family friends, but I started Kempo at 13. I got my black belt at 18. So through that, you know, 15 to 18 years old, I was doing a lot of competition, you know, fighting and kata in tournaments.
Okay. And then, so did you say you still train, you could do
Mhm.
all this stuff. Did you stick with Kempo the whole time, or did
Mhm.
you kind of branch
Yeah,
out to other things, or?
I've branched out a few things, but I've stuck with my instructor is the founder of our Kempo system. So in 2012, I was raised to 10th degree.
Wow.
So I've got every one of my degrees from him.
Is that the
Uh,
highest you could get? Like, where do they cap it? Like at what?
well, he's a 10th, so I can't go any
You
higher.
pretty okay.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
pretty much topped out.
That's
But then during that time, I, you know, trained in some Wing Chun, did a lot of stick fighting with different people. So I kind of also teach stick fighting now. So I kind of consider that Filipino stick fighting and Kempo are my, you know, my core arts.
Now, is that what you do for a living? Basically, you have your own karate dojo?
I do have my own karate dojo, but it's not what I do for a living. I have a regular career, you know, and I've been teaching through our city here in Murrieta, where I live, the Parks and Rec department. I've been teaching here for 32 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Let
So
me
I've
ask.
always trained. I've always
Always
trained.
trade. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like once you're in the martial arts, I mean, I'm a lifetime dude. I started at like 14, but I haven't stopped. You know, I just kept doing, you know, it still training all
Right.
the time. So it's a
Absolutely.
lifestyle for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And for a person who starts teaching, you kind of can't quit either, right? So it's like, oh, what am I going to do? What are these students going to do? You know? So
Yeah, yeah, you
yeah.
got a responsibility for sure. Well, so after the Karate Kid, though, how much longer did you compete in tournaments?
Okay, probably through my mid 20s. So yeah, probably for another 2 or 3 years.
Okay, you kept at it for a while. That's cool.
Yeah, I did. I did quite well. In fact, I tell the story that when I moved to this house in Murrieta, I bought a house up the street, brought all my trophies over there. And then when I moved to this house, I threw away like 100 trophies because
You threw them away.
I just didn't want to bring them here. You know, I had this house, and it takes up a lot of room,
Oh yeah, sure.
and they're all, you know, dusty, and half of them are falling apart. You know, these are just plastic. I mean, even if I still have 20 or 30 hanging around the house, so it's not like I got rid of everything, but
At least
you know,
keep all the first place ones, you know.
there were a lot of them. So yeah. I mean, I stuck them in the trash. And before the trash came, somebody had nabbed them all. So,
Oh, really? And probably like
so
rip the nameplate off and like put their own name.
oh yeah, I mean, they could have
Guys.
taken them all apart and didn't open their own trophy shop for
We do that
a
too. That's
couple of
funny.
months.
Martial arts
Yeah,
supply trophy shop.
yeah,
Hey, just one last question because I know a lot of people are curious.
sure.
Like, how does one move up to like a 10th degree? Because obviously people think black belt is like, oh, I'm done, I'm good, I got a black belt. Where I always thought that, well, that's kind of the
Mhm.
beginning in a lot of ways. But so how do people move up to like get to your level?
Sure. You know, I'm going to ask you a question because I believe you have a lot of training too. But to answer your question, in our system, after you get your Shodan, your first degree,
Mhm.
okay, we don't have testing for each additional degree. We basically say that the test is continued teaching and training. So if you continue teaching and training, you know, what'll happen is you have to hold your position within the hierarchy of black belts under my instructor. And I happen to be his first student. Actually, I'm his second black belt. So as we continue teaching and training, everyone that comes in below us, they start to get ranked. So, you know, over time, it takes it's usually 3 to 5 years, he'll rank me up so that people under me can move up. So it's basically every 4 years I got ranked, you know, first, second, third, fourth. So I have a certificate for every rank all the way up until 2012 when I hit 10.
Yeah, top of the ladder. That's awesome. Yeah, the way one of my karate instructors always explained it, it had to do with like contributions to the martial arts world, you know, and that's why sometimes they give people ceremonial degrees, and right.
Sure.
Yeah, but
but for us, like I said, some people talk about a test, an actual test, and I actually have sat on other people's tests for third, fourth, fifth, even. But you know, there isn't. You know, basically, we learn everything by our black belt. So you know, the whole curriculum is under your belt. You're expected to improve, but like I said, the test of time, right? Are you still training? Are you still teaching? So because that's the contribution component.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it's one of those things. Like if somebody hypothetically got a black belt 20 years ago and they quit training, can they still say they're a black belt? Like yes and no.
Well,
Not really.
they have one.
20 years. Are you really still a black belt?
Yeah, they have one, right?
Yeah. Oh, there. Yeah, they have one, but they're not. I wouldn't really consider them one anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think people have different degrees of that because I know a lot of my students who have achieved black belt and then kind of went away for a while and then came back and trained. They don't lose. You know, they lose the physical aspect and the timing aspect of fighting, but they still retain a lot of muscle memory. So as long as they kind of have it in their mind, I would say they still consider themselves a martial artist. They still kind of live, you know, with discipline and some of the lessons they learned. And I would consider them a martial artist. But if they just kind of stopped cold and never trained and, you know, didn't do anything except for, you know, sit on the couch, then yeah, I'd say, yeah. Kind of let it go.
Some of them we could at least call a rusty black belt.
There you go.
That works.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere people could follow you on social media?
Sure. I'm pretty active on social media. On Facebook, you can get me at Vidal Kempo, Vidal Kempo. And I usually add pretty much everyone there, but I'm at 5,000. So I got to knock somebody out.
Oh, you got to
every time I add somebody. But
I'm going to try to add, well, maybe you can knock someone out for me. We'll see. But I'm going to try to add
do that. And then on Instagram, I'm Rock Breaker Boy.
Oh, well, that'd be a lot easier to add you there.
Yeah, you can just follow me there.
All right, cool, man. Awesome. Thanks.
Yep.